Ukraine, April 25, 1986. 1 a.m. Operators at the Chernobyl power plant begin a safety test aimed at seeing if the plant's turbines can maintain enough electricity to power the coolant pumps during the short gap between a potential power failure and the power-up of the emergency generators. The test was planned to correspond with a routinely scheduled shutdown to provide maintenance on reactor number 4. Power to the reactor slowly reduced. 2 p.m. Reactor number 4 is now at 50% power. The operators continue the test. 3 p.m. Soviet authorities issue an order to maintain power production to meet local demands, which halts the test. Around the same time, the emergency cooling system is shut off to avoid any interference with the test. 11 p.m. The test is allowed to continue. Operators begin to reduce power again. April 26, 1986. 12 a.m. The operators have switched shifts. The new shift lacks proper training and experience but has to continue the test instead of the previous operators due to the delay. Power continues to be reduced and reaches around 720 megawatts. Any operation below 700 megawatts is both dangerous and prohibited. Power continues to be reduced nonetheless. Once at 500 megawatts, control is transferred from the local to the automatic regulating system. Something fails during this process and power suddenly drops to 30 megawatts. The automatic shutdown signal is blocked. Operators desperately scramble to increase power as arguments arise about whether to abort the test or not. 1 a.m. Power has increased to 200 megawatts. By now, less than 15 control rods remain in place, violating procedure guidelines and reactor limitations. The test proceeds as intended, but operators struggle to balance pressure and level control. The reactor becomes increasingly unstable. Operators attempt to trigger the emergency shutdown and reinsert control rods, but the rods get jammed as they enter the core. Operators are unsure of what's happening at this point. 1:23 a.m. Reactor number 4 explodes, launching the 1,000-ton lid into the sky. Radiation and debris begin to spread as fire erupts. A second explosion shortly follows and cuts off power in the plant, aside from limited battery-operated emergency lighting. 1:26 a.m. Operators make the first call to the fire station for assistance while scrambling to prevent any further damage, though still clueless as to what has happened. Over the next half hour, the first wave of firefighters arrives on the scene. There's confusion around if the reactor has blown or not, and first responders were never informed of this, so they arrive without any protective gear. They begin to fight the fire. 2:15 a.m. Soviet officials call an emergency meeting and decide to set up a roadblock to prevent entry or exit through Pripyat. Police are called in to help, and as with the firefighters, are not informed of any radiation risk and therefore fail to protect themselves. 6:35 a.m. All fires are extinguished aside from the one in reactor number 4, which will burn for days. The events that followed this tragedy only worsen the matter. Many who were there that night soon died, and many more would die or suffer severely from the delayed evacuations and Soviet cover-up of the true dangers. 20 years later, Mikhail Gorbachev admits, the nuclear meltdown at Chernobyl, even more than my launch of perestroika, was perhaps the real cause of the collapse of the Soviet Union.